You're listening to part one of the interview with Yankee Pete on Carolina Broadcasting Legends with Matt Burton. Today we have the pleasure of speaking to, in my mind now, he argues this claim, but our first edition of Carolina Broadcasting Legends, and today we have the infamous Yankee Pete.
Thank you, and I will argue it all the way until the end of the segment. We were talking about some of the other people that you have lined up, and in my mind, they definitely qualify as legends.
Right.
For me, I've just happened to been in the Carolinas for a couple of decades. So if you do Carolina broadcasting people who hung out long enough, then I could be your first guest. I'm flattered by it, but in no way do I consider that.
Well, good sir, I do have to argue because having a 16-year run with two Band of Misfits, Ace and TJ,
right,
and being the producer for that long, syndicated show, that's something there.
Well, they are definitely larger legends than I would ever be. They're unbelievably talented guys, and I was happy to spend 16 years going along for the ride.
Yeah. Well, here shortly, like I said, we'll get to them later about your time there. But who is Yankee Pete? We've heard you growing up. Who's Yankee Pete in a nutshell?
A radio nerd, a 40-something radio nerd. I was born and raised in northern Illinois, born in 1970-something. And I was close enough to Chicago that I could listen to Chicago radio stations. And that's what I listened to at night when I was going to bed on like WLS. And even in the morning, Larry Lujak and the segment he did with Little Snot-Nosed Tommy, Animal Stories, kind of the inspiration for Stupid News that I've done for a couple of decades. John Records Landecker. Some of these guys are who I listen to. And to me, hearing them on the radio and hearing the shows that they did on the radio, and then later Stephen Gary and Kevin Matthews, Jonathan Brandmeier out of Chicago, they were bigger than movie stars, bigger than TV stars, bigger than the modern-day Kardashians or whoever is the Instagram flavor of the day. But those were my celebrities. But that's what I want to do, because I did have that big of an ego when I was a kid.
Even then?
Yeah, I want to be a star.
Yeah.
And these guys are huge stars. And then I did some research on it. There was it was pretty much Mayberry where I grew up, not a single stoplight. I went K through 12 in the same school building, very much a little house on the prairie kind of. No radio station in that town. So as soon as I got my driver's license when I was 16 years old, I went to about 30 miles away to the town of Savannah, Illinois, applied for a radio job, and got it right there on the spot. And I thought they would say no, because this is what big, huge celebrities do, be on the radio.
Right.
And you just hired me? Maybe this isn't what I thought it was. Yeah. But it was really cool. I was a board op running the board for the Chicago White Sox, and then I would sign the radio station off at night at 11 o'clock.
Very nice.
And if the Chicago White Sox game ended before 11, I got to play some country music off of 45.
I hear you.
The record player in the studio. And I did that in Savannah, Illinois, went to Sterling, Illinois, and worked for 3 stations there, doing obituaries on the air, doing some sports, farm reports. February hogs and April barrows and gilts, and I don't know what any of that means, but I could read the.
But you could read the copy.
I could take the information off of the Associated Press, off the AP Newswire, which was real paper. I mean, there were no computers that day. This is 1989, 1990. It just all printed. You didn't get to select what you want and then print out whatever story. It was all there. So you had to rip the wire about every 15 minutes and sort the stories up. Yeah, I could read it and make it sound like I knew what I was talking about. But despite growing up in a farm community, I was not a farm kid. No, not at all. Then in 1994, I thought it's time for my first move away from home. And to be safe, I'm going to go where my dad's family is. I had a set of grandparents in Alexandria, Louisiana. And I applied for a job down there and got it, doing afternoons on KQID. It was a powerhouse of a top 40 station. And the morning show there happened to be 2 guys who had been roommates And then the station went into bankruptcy, and they were the only 2 employees left.
Right.
So they decided to make themselves the morning show. And I started hanging out with them and working with them, and that was Ace and TJ. So we met back in 1994.
Very nice.
And I did afternoons there. I had a little meltdown with the general manager about 6 months into that job and quit on the spot in a not so professional way. And I went back to Illinois, managed some stations up there. Then I went to work in San Angelo, Texas for a radio network, and then rejoined with Ace and TJ for a few months in Alabama before the move to Charlotte, and stayed with them from 98 until 2013 here in Charlotte. Yeah. Through a couple of radio station moves, and 3 years ago I decided to retire. It was time for something new and different, and that's a long answer to your first question.
Well, hey, listen, it's that's what I want, is to let the listeners and viewers get to know, like I said, because we've heard you
right
for years. I remember when Ace and TJ first came to town, I was 10th grade, 11th grade, so you guys were like, who are these crazy guys? And it was just you guys, on the way to school, we'd listen to Ace TJ, and like I said, I'll get to the stupid news segment a little bit.
Okay.
But was radio always something that you were just like, I've got to do it? Or was it something that, like, early on you was like, well, yeah, I kind of want to do it, or maybe I want to be a professor, a teacher?
It's something I always wanted to try. Mm-hmm. I knew that I was going to go to college. I was going to go to college for 4 years because that's what you do. Mm-hmm. At one point, I think I was a sophomore in high school, we had to do a career report. And all of my friends knew what they were going to do. They were going to take over the family farm, or 2 of them specifically wanted to be accountants. One of them wanted to be a veterinarian. Trent was his name. He wanted to be a veterinarian. And everybody knew what they wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to make money. So I did my career report on being a pediatrician. I wanted to be a doctor because I knew that doctors got rich.
Right.
I'm 14, 15 years old. That's what I knew. Doctors get rich. And again, this is pre-internet, so there was no Google on what everybody makes. So I sat down with my pediatrician, who I had had since birth, and talked to him and interviewed him about it, and kind of wanted to stay interested in that, but it gave me a realization of, it's not about the money, and it's about the school, and do I really care about that? And I was kind of exposed to what is your passion, and do you really like to do it? Don't just pick a job because of the money. So I went into broadcasting, and certainly didn't pick that job for the money.
Right.
So I knew that I wanted to be exposed to it. So I did that just right after my junior year in high school, worked through my senior year, and really liked it more than I thought, and it completely derailed my college plans. So growing up listening to those guys, I knew that it was something I was fascinated with, but I didn't know if I could do it. I just knew I wanted to try it. Mm. And then I tried it, and I really, really liked it, and I stuck with it. So it wasn't the intent to do this for my whole life until I was into it a little bit and thought, yeah, I could do this.
Well, I know that, me early on, I wanted to be a political journalist on TV, and radio sucked me in.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, well, this is, and now it's radio has that effect on you. Very much so.
Why is that? I'm going to turn the tables and interview you.
Goodness. Okay.
Why do you like radio more than, or why did you pursue radio more than TV?
Well, I started working for Greater Media. That was my first job in the business. Mm-hmm. And I was working with WBT and 107.9 The Link. I was a promotions person there. Okay. And then I would fill in some doing other things. And then I got into copywriting. And I left WBT and Greater Media, and I hated to leave because I'm like, okay, I'm starting out in Market 25 in Charlotte. Yeah. Not a bad deal. So I left because the growth wasn't where I needed it to be. Mm-hmm. I was kind of dead end there at the time. I left and went to WGTK and WRTH in Greenville, Earth FM, and really got to grow there. I was the chief copywriter. And it just, Then Arrow Collins got a hold of me, and Johnny D.
and I chuckle there because God bless anybody that Arrow Collins gets a hold of, and I mean that in the best way possible. He is possibly the most genuine person that you will ever meet, and so creative. And if you have a creative bone in your body, which I always claim that I don't. I like to work with creative people,
right,
and then get them out of the room. You tell me what you want to create, and then I am the OCD person who will get what you need.
Right.
Okay, you need a rainbow and a unicorn tomorrow. Okay, I see what you want to do. We've already brainstormed this. Now get out. Now let me get to work.
Let me do it.
And let me find your rainbow and your unicorn.
Right.
But Arrow, and I'm sorry to go off track there,
no,
but it's a very Arrow thing to do. He will bring out the creativity in anybody.
He will.
And he is so optimistic. He is a fantastic human being. And if anybody in broadcasting or otherwise has the opportunity to encounter him, whether it's for 30 seconds or 30 days,
you'll never forget him.
You won't. You won't. There's no doubt about it. So you're in Greenville, and Arrow got a hold of you.
Yeah, and it just seemed like it was a snowball. Like I got into the editing, and then my inner creativity started. And I'm like, you know what? And like I said, I've interviewed every presidential candidate, sit down interviews with them, and I'm like, I have to get all dressed up in suits and stuff. Like, hey, radio, if I want to wear a hat, but like I said, radio is just, it's slowly, but now, and you can probably say this too, that, because I definitely want to talk about the change that you've seen, like, just in the Charlotte market, but the media is changing so quickly to where you have to incorporate TV with radio and all the new digital medium. Because, have you seen that change? Is radio safe right now?
No, not at all. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and the phrase that really caught my ear was terrestrial radio is dead. I'm going to agree and disagree with that. Same way that TV is dead. Same way that newspaper is dead.
What happened?
None of them are dead. Technology has changed, and people's mindset has changed. You could probably say that Facebook or Instagram or Twitter are dead. Now, MySpace, I think, actually is kind of dead.
It's dead. It's dead.
As far as a social media platform goes. Now, as far as a music media platform, I think it's still a viable source for those who are searching out that venue. But I don't think any of those can exist on their own. So the old mindset of, this is my radio show, this is my time slot, I'm going to do this, this is the music that I play, these are the games that this is the music I play, these are the games that I engage with in listeners with, and we do this feature and this feature, and that's my show, and I can't imagine that a company is considering letting me go, or that my ratings are going down because I've done this for 10 years. Well, you can't continue to do that. And it's that way whether you're dealing with manufacturing or selling cars, or no matter what your business is, you have to look at other platforms. So I believe that all of those things are dead, and I believe that all of those things have the opportunity to greatly, greatly thrive. But you have to consider where you're at. If you are looking to do radio and you're not engaging on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, possibly in television, whatever the next social media platform is going to be, then I think you're done. Just like an Instagram star, I don't think can support themselves or continue that platform without expanding into other areas. I do think that podcasting is giving radio a run for its money. Yeah. Not only because, one, it's on demand, but two, that is where up-and-coming personalities shine. And I think that's where a lot of people are being discovered. Radio isn't dead. Bad radio is dead. Even average radio is dead. It just has the opportunity to expand so much. And even if you're only using Facebook or Twitter to drive people to your radio show, or using the radio show to drive people to your YouTube channel. Whatever it is, it's a multifaceted approach. Take a book author, for example. Mm-hmm. You're not going to make your millions of dollars or even make your mark with a show. with a book. You need a blog, and you need speaking engagements, and you need a tribe to follow you. I haven't heard radio managers say this, or even television managers say this, but we're also not really in a hotbed of television production. But I'll use radio as an example, since that's where both of us are and come from. Let's draw the line with books. Right now, you're not going to get a book published if you're an author and you go to a publisher. They're going to say they're going to see how many Twitter followers you have, how many Facebook fans you have. When you do an engagement, you do a speaking engagement, how many people are signing up and actually coming to that? It could be the greatest book in the last 50 years that you've just handed them. If you don't have an audience already, if you don't have a platform, which is the name of the Michael Hyatt book where I'm taking some of this from, if you don't already have a platform, the publisher is going to kick you out the door. You have to bring that audience with you. So how are you building that audience? You've probably built it through, you have to run it like a political campaign, whether it's signs or shaking hands or kissing babies, which is the real-life version of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, radio, television. You really have to bring that audience with you. And I think that we're going to see more radio managers and program directors looking at potential talent. Hey, we need to fill this midday position. We need to fill this afternoon position. Here's a guy or girl who has had great ratings in Paducah. Are they going to make it here? Well, I don't know. It's not just that they've had great ratings. Are they going to bring people with them? How have they been engaging? Are people going to listen online? Have they been involved socially? Are they out in the community? So you have to cultivate your own audience, really, to bring that in. No longer can you think, well, I've got a great air check. I've got a great demo reel. This radio station needs to hire me. They need to give me my opportunity. No.
Yeah.
You need to bring that expertise and that audience with you, and you need to bring that opportunity to the station. I've got something here for you. I'm not asking for the station to make me. I want to make this station. You know, that's the attitude.
It's the old John Kennedy, ask not what you can do for your country, ask what your country can do. No, not the other way around.
Exactly vice versa.
Yep.
Yeah. Ask what I can do for my station, for my podcast, for my platform, not just what can the radio station do for me.
It kind of sounds like Yankee Pete might be running against Donald Trump right now, for president. Yankee Pete for president.
Let's make radio great again.
There you go.
There is certainly a different dynamic, and you have to be well versed and take your own responsibility for building your own audience, no matter where that is. So if you're looking to just crack a microphone and build a huge audience, I don't think it's going to work. You have to support that through all the other channels that are out there, because all the channels that are out there, and I don't mean radio channels, I mean communication channels, apps,
podcasts,
social podcasts, written word. There's more now than there was a week ago, and certainly more than a year ago, and way more than 10 or 15 years ago. You're older than I thought you were. You're older than you look, since you were talking about when I first came to town with Ace and TJ that you were in 10th grade or so. You remember AOL and dial-up internet.
Oh, man.
And when your parents wouldn't shut off the call waiting, and somebody would call and it would knock you offline.
Yeah.
Imagine that. People that we're trying to reach, some of the people that we're trying to reach today have no idea of that, no concept of that. So you really have to think about those demographics and how to build that audience.
We were watching the other day, me and my girlfriend, we were watching, going back to that, the cell phones pulling up the old antenna.
Sure.
And, I was like, you know what, I should have saved that just for, because my mom had one. But
you really want one, you can still buy one on eBay. Yeah, you can.
Under Yankee Pete, you have it for sale?
I don't know.
Okay.
No.
Stay tuned for part 2 of our candid interview with Yankee Pete right here on Carolina Broadcasting Legends with Matt Burton.